How's it going, guys? JP here, and welcome to my UFC 168 recap slash review results video. UFC 168. As you guys know, I was super pumped for it. I was, really looking forward to it. What a way to, end, cap off the final UFC event and the final, the year, pretty much capping off the year of MMA. The biggest event. This is the last one of the year. Very bizarre, unfortunate, unpredictable, just out of left field bizarreness to end the final fight of the year. We'll get to that in a second. First of all, I went 8-1 with my picks, and damn, I was not expecting that. I kind of shocked myself with how accurate I'm picking. Granted, I only pick the fights that I'm familiar with. I don't pick every fight on the card, so that probably helps pad my record a bit. But I still think my overall record, 40-14, since I've been doing this, is pretty impressive. Especially for me. I'm no MMA genius or journalist or anything, expert at all. I'm just a guy, MMA fan, who's doing picks at home for the internet. So never take my opinions and picks too serious. These are for fun. But anyway, let's hop into it. We have the preliminary card: John Howard versus Sihar Bahadurzada. Butchered his name once again. I picked Howard. I didn't actually get to see this fight, but I got my pick right. Yeah, and another thing, I give this event it's a 5-star event. This is a awesome event. It definitely lived up to the hype. In my opinion, I thought it was a great event. So yeah, then we move on to Dennis Silva versus Manny Gambarian, and this one, I said that I had a feeling that this one was the one that was going to come back to bite me, and I was kind of right, because I picked Manny Gambarian, and he lost. He lost to Dennis Silva. Dennis Silva, a humongous featherweight. The dude is so big looking, especially compared to Manny. I think Manny gave this fight away. I thought after the second round that he was gonna win. I thought he was losing the wrestling exchanges. It was bizarre how he ended up just kind of letting the fight slip out of his hands in the third round and just kind of gave it to Dennis Silva. It didn't seem like he put up enough of a fight and really wanted to win it. So that kind of bummed me out a bit. I like Manny Gambarian, and I really don't know where he goes from here. I don't know if I don't know who you would even put him up against. I mean, I honestly, maybe you should do the Cole Miller rematch, and because that one was kind of controversial, and I think Cole Miller should have won that fight, and I think that Manny Gambarian should prove that he really won that fight, and yeah, maybe do that. After that, we have Gleison Tebow versus Michael Johnson, and this one, I picked Michael Johnson, and he won. It was pretty impressive. He had some fantastic footwork. He looks really good at lightweight. I mean, granted, Gleison Tebow isn't a top 10 opponent or anything, but he's looking good. I mean, he pretty much picked Joe Lauzon apart and just, completely shut down Lauzon's game. And Lauzon's a well-rounded fighter. And then, knocking out Gleison Tebow, I'm impressed with Johnson right now. I think he has some potential. I say give him a top 10 opponent like Jim Miller, for example, who also won his fight. I think he's about ready for that leap. So, yeah, Michael Johnson versus Jim Miller. I'd like to see it. Next up, we have middleweights Uriah Hall versus Chris Lieben, and this fight to me was just, it was an end of, Chris Lieben is no longer the man he once was, and it very much shined through in this fight. Chris Lieben is like Frankenstein, and he just moves forward, and that's what he was doing. He was moving forward. He was getting picked apart by Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall was faster. He was smoother. Just, altogether a fresher, more technical fighter. But then to see Chris Lieben, I wouldn't say quit, because it wasn't like he quit. He just knew that he was done. And to see him do that, though, seems kind of out of characteristic of him. And I think it really goes to show that it's time to hang him up. And it was kind of sad because Chris Lieben has been around forever. He's one of the first, faces that I remember seeing, as kind of the face of the UFC. He wasn't the face, but he was a face of the UFC. His red hair and stuff, and his just lumbering Frankenstein knockout type of fighting style. And it really was just unfortunate to see his career go and that way. He battled a lot of problems, outside of the cage, which probably some wasted potential there. But I think that he had a hell of a run. He's had some great fights. He introduced Anderson Silva to the world, the North American world, in the UFC, the mainstream. And he had some classic fights. So Chris Lieben, I would like to see him retire, which I think he will. And props to him for having a good career. So moving on, we move to the main card. We have Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus Diego Brandao. And this fight was awesome. Poirier looked fantastic. Also, really quick, I don't know who you give Uriah Hall. I don't know who you would let him fight next. But probably somebody in the world of you know what? I honestly don't know. I'd have to probably think about that one for a little bit. So skip that. Dustin Poirier versus Diego Brandao. And Dustin Poirier looked fantastic. This fight kind of went exactly how I was thinking it would. Diego was going to try to headhunt and knock out Poirier. Poirier was going to, buy some time and just be more technical, fast, and just, pick his shots. And he would eventually finish Diego. I didn't know if he would finish him, but I thought that I actually thought it might have went to a decision. And Poirier would have, wore Diego down to where he was, gassed out, and he was just going to pick him, especially after Diego missed weight. So Poirier, fantastic job. He really looks good. I say give him the Cubs sponsored rematch that he wants. Diego Brandao, I don't know what you do with him. After that, we move to lightweights. Jim Miller versus Fabricio Come on something. Jim Miller submission armbar first round. There isn't much to say. Jim Miller has always kind of been good, but never, great once he gets a top 5 guy. So I say move him along slow again. Maybe not give him a top 10 guy yet, even though he is, ranked number 10. Give him somebody, top 15-ish again, and just, let him get some confidence back. After that, we moved to the heavyweights, Travis Brown versus Josh Barnett, and I felt like I was the only person picking Travis Brown, and I think people this kind of finally opened up people's eyes to Travis Brown. I mean, the guy's good. His only loss is to Bigfoot Silva, and it was kind of, I forget what he did. He pulled his hamstring or something in the fight and got knocked out. Dude, Travis Brown is serious. That Josh Barnett is a great heavyweight, and he did the same thing he did to Gabriel Gonzaga, and he elbowed him in the head when Josh was going for the double leg, and he was knocked out quick. And those were some powerful elbows. Travis Brown is pretty awesome, and he's tough as hell too, judging by the Alistair Overeem fight. I say you let him get that Bigfoot rematch, and or maybe even Mark Hunt. So yeah, Travis Brown, definitely looking forward to seeing him as a contender at heavyweight. Then we move to the co-main event, women's bantamweight champion Ronda Rousey versus Miesha Tate. Also, I say you give Josh Barnett maybe Saul Paleli, or who? No. That's the guy. I'm just trying to match up the people who fought recently. Maybe that Saul Paleli guy, but that might be too much of a step down. Maybe the winner of Frank. Well, that wouldn't make sense. Maybe give him. I don't know. I don't know who you give Josh Barnett. Maybe Roy Nelson. That might be a fun fight. Roy Nelson. Let's do Roy Nelson. And or Roy Nelson sounds good. After that we have women's bantamweights: Ronda Rousey versus Miesha Tate. Rousey, this was a hell of a fight. It was also a very frustrating fight to watch. I just was feeling like Miesha was trying to play judo with a world champion judo Olympic bronze medalist, and it was like, why are you doing this, Miesha? You was winning the striking exchanges. Why didn't you keep your distance? Why didn't you keep striking? And I honestly think it was because Ronda was tagging her up too a bit, and Miesha doesn't like being hit in the face. I really think that's what it is. She wanted to clinch up and try to use her wrestling against Ronda, and she survived for a long time. Round 3. If I took away anything from this fight, is Ronda does look beatable. And I think somebody like Kat Zingano or Holly Holm, who has good striking, if they could just buy enough time to not get armbarred, they can beat Ronda. Miesha Tate is a true warrior. I really like Miesha Tate. I just think that her head should have been a little more clear in her strategy, because I just don't think she was doing the right things. Fantastic fight though. Ronda Rousey is, an animal. I'm looking forward to the Kat Zingano fight, not so much the Sarah McMahon fight. I don't think Sarah McMahon has anything for her. She's a wrestler, but she's going to take Ronda down and get armbarred or whatever. I don't know. But quick turnaround. Ronda's fighting again in February. That's a very quick turnaround. So that's interesting. Anyway, we move to the main event: Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva, and wow. So the first fight, Weidman knocks Silva out after Silva clowns a little too much, and everybody was kind of like, well, I want to know what would happen if the real Silva showed up. And I still feel like that question wasn't really answered, because the real Silva did show up, but we had a fluke accident. You know what I mean? I can't even say it was not a fluke. I'll get to that in a second. But we have this, unfortunate event to where it still feels like Anderson didn't really... I mean, we saw how the fight was going in the first round. Weidman almost knocked Silva out, and I think that's how it would have ended, but we don't know for sure. Silva usually turns it up in the second round and looks better. And I wanted to see what would happen if his leg didn't break off of Chris Weidman's knee. It's not really funny. It was kind of sad. It was kind of a sad sight to see. But, Weidman, Silva is a true, champion. He's, one of the greatest of all time. And, it's an end of an era. It really is. I don't see him coming back from this. I almost wouldn't want him to come back from this, and fight again. What else does he have to prove? He's not going to be champion again, probably. He's not going to get another fight with Chris Weidman, probably. And I just kind of, I think I know where the fight would have went, but there's still that just, what else could have happened if his leg didn't break. But that brings me to my point. This was not a fluke. I know I just said it a second ago, but it was not. I have learned by watching this fight and the first fight with Silva and the Mark Munoz fight with Weidman, just how good Weidman is. I think he's better than any of us even think. I think he hasn't even shown his full potential yet. I mean, if you go back fights before, the Alessio Sakar fight and some of those other ones, he doesn't look, champion material, I guess. But as of late, if you look at the Mark Munoz fight, and Mark Munoz and Weidman reacted. He didn't just throw that random elbow and knock Mark Munoz out. He timed it. Munoz was coming in, and he reacted and timed the elbow. And it was beautiful. And if you look at the same thing in the first Anderson Silva fight, he doubled up on the right side and caused Silva to, weave the wrong way, and he knocked him out. or was it the left side? It doesn't matter which side it was. He doubled up and he confused Anderson, and I think he did that consciously. I don't think it was a just lucky thing. And this fight, he checked that kick perfect, and it was a reaction. He is good. So Weidman, I think, is going to go down as one of the. I think in the next few years we're really going to be like, it's going to be another John Jones type of thing. Like, who can beat this guy? I'm predicting that now. I think Weidman will be a champion for a while, unless TRT has something to say about that in the Vitor Belfort fight that's coming up next. Him and Weidman. That's going to be a hell of a fight. I'm looking forward to that one. I still think Weidman will win, though, as of right now. So anyway, that's my video, guys. This is pretty long. See you guys next time, and peace.